Good evening, everybody. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach, Rabbi.
I'm mindful that the YouTube audience is already watching, and they're seeing all of us chit chat and have a great time here in the courtyard. So that's a good way to start the service.
And they were off microwaving their cup of coffee.
That's
before
right.
We started.
That's right.
They said, "Oh, honey, I have time to microwave."
Right. They're still talking.
Coffee.
They're still talking.
Yeah.
We begin the service on page 3 as a Shana Tova greeting. We begin with the psalm for Rosh Hashanah, Barchi Nafshi et Adonai. To everything there's a season.
ברכי נפשי את אדוני וכל קרבי את שם קודשו ברכי נפשי את אדוני ואל תשכחי כל גמוליו הסולח בכל עוונכי הרופל לכל תחלואייכי הגואל משחת חייכי המייתרכי חסד ורחמים ידעי אדוני מלאכיו גיבורי כוח עושה דברו לשמוע בכל דברו לשמוע בכל דברו ברכו אדוני כל מעשיו בכל מקומות ממשלתו ברכי נפשי את אדוני
Please rise as we turn to page 5 for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed Baruch Atah
You may be seated.
Eloheinu melech haolam asher biro ma'ariv v'araviv בורכך מבטח שערים ובתבונה עיתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את כוכבים במשפטיכם ברקיע קיצורנו ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה הוא אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם Ma'ariv Aravi.
We turn to the top of page 6 for Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, al ken Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochveinu u'v'kumeinu, nasiyach ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ימינו ובהם נהגי יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
We cover our eyes in the middle of page 6. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levavcha, vechol nafshecha, vechol me'odecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele. אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך והיה אם שמעת תשמע. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
אמונה כזו וקיים עלינו כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו וזולתו ואנחנו ישראל עמו.
We continue in the middle of page 8.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לך ענו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא תהילות עושה פלא מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה זה אלי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We turn to the top of page 9 for Hashkivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום להעמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום להעמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום להעמידנו מלכנו לחיים ושמור צאתנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם שלום 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 שכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום להעמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום להעמידנו מלכנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני פורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Please rise for the top of page 10.
תקעו בחודש שופר בכסה ליום חגנו כי חוק לישראל הוא משפט לאלוהי יעקב
Let's read together in the English. On the top of page 10, the first 2 lines. Please read with me. Sound the shofar on our feast day, on the new moon when it is hidden, for it is Israel's law, a decree of the God of Jacob. We remain standing for Chatzi Kaddish.
יתקדש ויקדש שמי רבה בימה דברה חירותי וילך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמירה במבורך לעולם ולמי הלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתדע ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילא ולעילא מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
The silent Amidah begins on page 11 and continues through page 17.
Please continue davening your Amidah, or you may join me on page 19 for Adat Shalom. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabba Beyalma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei V'chayechon u'v'yomechon U'v'chayedecho beit Yisrael Ba'agala u'v'zeman kavid Ve'imeru Amen Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevarach Leolam Ulam Amaya Yitbarach 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 Ve'yishtabach Ve'yitpa'ah Ve'yitromam Ve'yitnaseh Ve'yitadar Ve'yitale Ve'yithala Shemei the Kudisha Shemei the Kudisha Brichu Le'ela Ule'ela Linkom Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran Be'alma Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran Be'alma Ve'imeru Amen Titkabel Tzlotechon Uvavuron Decho Yisrael Kodam Bavuron Divishmaya 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 Ve'imeru Amen Yehesh Lemaraba Min Shemaya Bechayim Bechayim Aleinu Aleinu Ve'ako Yisrael Ve'ako Yisrael Ve'imeru Amen Osei Shalom Bimromav Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Aleinu Ve'ako Yisrael Ve'imeru Amen. Yasher Koach.
Shana Tova, everyone.
Shana Tova, Rabbi.
This year, just as I have in years past, I've asked several congregants to speak during the holidays about how Adat Shalom, how this community has been a blessing in their lives, a rock upon which they can rely, even during these most uncertain times. Tonight, we're going to hear from Dr. Arvand Elihu. He and Laura have been members for several years now. I first met them while Laura was a student of mine in the Intro to Judaism class through the Miller program at AJU. And it has been an honor to be able to walk along their journey in life, through their marriage, and now through children. They have two beautiful young children doing circles around this courtyard in the back, making looms, yes? There they are right there. Shoshana and Akko. I so appreciate Arvan and Laura's friendship, and I look forward to the community getting to know them better, and Arvan and Laura and Shoshana and Akko getting more involved in the community. I'd like to welcome Arvan to the Bima.
Dear Rabbi Leibowitz, Cantor Dale, Board of Directors, and Adat Shalom congregation and family. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today to express our gratitude to Rabbi Leibowitz and to Adat Shalom. With the pandemic and two very young children, it has been very challenging to congregate. But we have been able to participate in last year's high holiday services and for Shabbat via the Adat Shalom online services. So thank you for that. We are looking forward to calmer times so we can connect with this Jewish community. You know, I actually have the rabbi to thank for my family. My wife and I come from very different backgrounds. She was not raised Jewish. When she and I were dating, because of her great-grandmother's ties to Judaism, her desire to explore these ties, and knowing the importance of Judaism to me, she embarked on the Introduction to Judaism class through the American Jewish University. She loved the classes for a lot of reasons, but she was incredibly moved by one of her teachers, Rabbi Leibowitz. She would tell me how he had a special way of communicating the material. He graciously agreed to perform her conversion ceremony. After the ceremony, we were planning on taking a trip to Hawaii or South America. But after the mikvah, we decided that a trip to Israel would be more meaningful. Rabbi Leibowitz highly recommended and connected us to a tour guide. And although this tour guide was not available for our specific dates, she did recommend us to one of her colleagues. The guide she connected us to was named Ari Eliyahu, and he helped change the course of our lives. I had been to Israel multiple times, but I had never seen it the way that Ari had shown it. After our 1-week guided tour had ended, Ari invited us to Shabbat dinner at his parents' house in Petach Tikva. When we arrived, we could see that Ari had a big family. Ari's father, the patriarch of the family, kindly greeted us in Hebrew. He was a 90-year-old Iraqi Jew who had immigrated to Israel on the day of its inception in 1948. He sat Laura and I next to him at the head of the table as he recited the Shabbat evening prayers, and he honored me to sing the Kiddush, the blessing over wine, not knowing that this is my own personal, cherished, and most practiced prayer. The events of that trip and that night were so remarkable that I proposed to my wife, and as you could have guessed, she said yes. My wife and I were engaged in July and wanted to marry in October so that we could have an outdoor wedding. Again, Rabbi Leibowitz was there for us and agreed to officiate our wedding despite having previous plans to attend a friend's wedding. The wedding ceremony was beautiful, and like everything up to that point was special and very meaningful to us. We could not have imagined any other rabbi there with us. Adat Shalom welcomed our family with such open arms. Our daughter was born in 2019 before the pandemic, and so as an infant, she was able to experience high holiday services here in the sanctuary. We named her Shoshana after Laura's great-grandmother. I should formally thank you all for Yom Kippur 2019. When we arrived with our 5-month-old Shoshana, we were late and wandering around the middle of the service because we couldn't find our seats. And although we were being disruptive, you were all very kind in helping us find our way. Our son was born last summer during the pandemic, and again, Adat Shalom was there for us as Rabbi Leibowitz was physically there to officiate our very small and socially distanced Brit Milah. We named our son Akko after the ancient port city in Israel, where our tour guide Ari had taken us. With that, I would like to conclude. I would like to say thank you to God, to Rabbi Leibowitz, to Adat Shalom, and to all of you. Shana Tova.
Thank you, Arvand. Thank you, Laura, for being here this evening. Bye, Shoshana. Bye, Akko. Tomorrow we'll hear from another congregant, Eliza Wine, and then on Yom Kippur we have Joe Hoffman to welcome to the Bima to speak on the role that Adat Shalom has played in their lives as well. It's become my custom to craft a story for Erev Rosh Hashanah. The first Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rebbe Shneur Zalman of Liadi, who lived from 1745 to 1812, he explained the preparations for the high holidays, the process of teshuvah during the month of Elul, through a metaphor, an image. Now I'd like to take that metaphor, I'd like to take that image and develop it a little bit further into a story. Once there was a kingdom of people with a supreme king who lived high among the kingdom in a royal palace that was perched on the tallest mountain imaginable. Anyone wishing to approach the king must apply through the appropriate channels in the palace and learn the specific language and all the customs and the etiquette to gain the approval of a succession of secretaries, ministers, bureaucracy. The person would have to journey to the capital and pass through many gates, climb the tallest mountain, and exhibit worthy preparation at the top by passing a series of exams. Only then would the person enter and find his or her way through a maze of corridors that might ultimately lead to the throne room. Once in the throne room, the person's presentation at that point would have to be meticulously prepared. And he or she would have to adhere to an exact code of dress and speech and mannerism upon entering the royal presence. However, there was a specific time of year when the king actually came down the mountain. The king passed through the gates, and the king entered the fields of the kingdom. In theory, at that moment, anyone could approach him while he strolled outside of the palace. The king was willing to receive them all with a smiling face and a royal, radiant countenance. He was willing to speak with even the lowliest of peasants. But there were stories in the kingdom, legends, about people who approached the king directly with questions, with requests, with complaints. Oy, the kingdom had so many complaints. People would approach and freeze. They'd stand before the royal garb. The sunlight glistened off the crown in a blinding manner, unable to speak, intimidated to look directly into his piercing eyes, unable to move. People stood frozen, paralyzed before him in awe. So the custom developed over time. During the month before the king's arrival, people would come and plant flowers all throughout the fields. Each person from the entire kingdom would come and plant one flower, the most beautiful flower that that person could find. Every color imaginable in the field. Yellows, oranges, purples, blues of every shade and hue. The most inviting smells. The best version of a flower bed that one could imagine and it would stretch for miles and miles forever. Each year, the field would be planted and prepared for the king's visit. And each year, the king would descend down to the field and slowly but surely stroll through the field, admiring, appreciating each flower and the effort it must have taken to prepare such a glorious wonder. While walking along, the king would touch every single flower. Some flowers captured his attention so absolutely that he'd actually bend down and grace the flower with his own hand. Others would be grazed by his long flowing robe. Somehow the kingdom was so connected that each member of the kingdom would feel the king's presence as he touched the individual flower that the person had planted. They'd feel the king's love and compassion. They'd feel his forgiveness and his encouragement. They'd feel a connection to the royal throne well beyond their wildest imagination. Over the next 10 days, many of us might feel a spark of inspiration, a hint of connection with a greater sense, with a larger perspective, or perhaps even gain a greater insight into ourselves that we never imagined. I'd argue it's because we're prepared. We planted in the field. And at that moment, each of our individual flowers are being touched. That intuitive sense might last for the briefest moment or might carry us on throughout the year. We might notice it in our neighbor here at services, or we might feel it through our screen at home. And we'll know at that moment that our parent, our King, Avinu Malkeinu, has seen our preparations and appreciates our work in the field and wants to continue the connection with his people. Shana Tova. We continue on page 23, the top of the page, with the announcement of the year.
Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu shetechadesh aleinu et hashana hazot שנת 5,782 ותהי זו שנה של שגשוג שקול לנו למשפחותינו ולקהילותינו. יהי רצון שנשוב בשנה הבאה למקום הזה בבריאות וברגשי הודעה לשנה של שלום. שנה בה נמצא דרכים להיטיב את חיינו בלימוד תורה וקיום מצוות. שנה בה נהיה פתוחים לנוכחות השכינה. שנה בה נחזק את יחסינו ישועים לאחרים ושיתוף פעולתנו בתיקון עולם כן יהי רצון.
Please read with me in the English on the top of page 23. May it be your will, Adonai our God and God of our ancestors, that the year 5782 be one of balanced and mindful growth for us as individuals, for our families and our communities. May we return next year in good health and in appreciation of a year of greater peace, a year in which we deepened our lives through learning and the performance of mitzvot, a year in which we were conscious of the divine presence, a year in which we strengthened our shared commitment to Tikkun Olam, the betterment of the world, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Please rise.
I'm sorry. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol am v'romamanu mikol lashon v'kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'yahava et yom hazikaron hazeh yom teruah mikra kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kiddashta mikol ha'amim u'devarecha emet v'kayam la'ad Baruch atah Adonai melech al kol ha'aretz mikadeshei Yisrael v'yom hazikaron.
Let's join together at the bottom of the page with Shehachianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו בזמן הזה.
Baruch atah Adonai, our God, ruler of time and space, for granting us life, for sustaining us, and for bringing us to this moment together. We remain standing as we turn to page 25 for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שנותי שמיים אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת שירו ותיארנו בשמיים על הארץ מתחתינו על כן נקבע לך בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
You may be seated. This week we remember Abraham Knoll, Helen Apteker, Jan Fish, Leah Ehrlich, Manuel Kaner, Matilda Glasser-Fisher, Muriel Nanette Footlick, Rosen Gardenswartz, Saul Himmelstein, Seymour Reinschreiber, and Hilda Kozen Byers. Are there any other names? May all of their memories forever be a blessing. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 26 for all those in mourning or observing Yurtzeit. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemerabah, be'alma divrach irute ve'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach leolam u'meil maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shemei kudesha b'richu. Le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushpechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. And now it's my pleasure to welcome up to the bima somebody who knows a lot about flowers. One of my favorite people in the congregation. A woman who needs no introduction, who decided to take the longest route possible to walk up to the bima, who decided to stop and say hello to my father on the way. I think she's enjoying this introduction a little bit too much. Esther Margulies.
What an appropriate build-up for the announcements today. Thank you, Rabbi Leibowitz and Cantor Schatz, for leading our Erev Rosh Hashanah services out here on our festive and beautiful patio. Thank you to Richard Destin, my husband. I don't thank him enough. And my son Josiah Destin and David Chimato, our ushers for this evening, who helped us all get to our seats, which are beautifully socially distanced, as I see. I know you're thinking something is happening this week. You've all come here for a purpose, and yes, I'm happy to tell you there is more of what we just enjoyed this evening. Come back tomorrow morning for Rosh Hashanah services. And not only tomorrow, but you can come on Wednesday as well at 9 a.m. And the cantor and the rabbi will both be here. We will look forward to seeing you either live or on our YouTube live stream. By now, those of you who are here all know that you need to pick up your tickets at will call before you can come into our patio. For those of you who are watching on the live stream, please make sure to come and pick up your tickets at will call in the National Boulevard parking lot. Sunday, September 12th at 10 a.m. will be Tashlich with Adat Shalom at Kenneth Hahn Park. Please join Rabbi Leibowitz, Cantor Schatz, and your Adat Shalom community as we begin our new year with prayer and song. All are welcome. And our Yom Kippur book discussion returns. The book this year is Never Alone, Prison, Politics, and My People by Natan Sharansky and Gil Troy. In a special upcoming episode of The Rabbi's Neighborhood, Rabbi Leibowitz interviews the authors, Natan Sharansky and Gil Troy. And on September 20th, we will celebrate Sukkot. More information will come about opportunities to come and picking up your lulav and etrog. And also, I'm looking at my husband, who is also in charge of annual building of the sukkah and for services and other events in the sukkah this year. And finally, as Rabbi Leibowitz described it, the holiday at the end of the tunnel. Simchat Torah begins the evening of Tuesday, September 28th. Come and celebrate, sing, and dance as we reveal Adat Shalom's new Torah mantles and bima table covers for the main sanctuary and the chapel. We invite the community to contribute in support of the community Torah mantle. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Yasher koach.
Shana Tova. Thank you, Esther. Yasher koach. And for those of us who are here on Slichot, who participated in that abbreviated Hora to welcome the Torah and celebrate a new Sefer Torah in our community. You got a taste of what it's going to be like on Simchas Torah, when perhaps it'll be, all of the hakafot instead of just one hakafa, as it is our chance to welcome these new mantles in a beautification process of our most important ritual items. We now turn to page 27 for Psalm 27. Do you think that's a coincidence?
I think the rabbis planned that thousands of years ago.
I bet you the publisher decided on that even before the book came about, that was his goal. 27 on 27, the Psalm for the season of repentance.
Adonai be'eretz chayim kavel Adonai chazek ve'ames libecha ve'kavel Adonai
Services conclude on page 28 with Yigdal.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח נמצא ואין אל מצויות אחד ואין יחיד כייחודי נעולם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף לנערוך אליו קדושתו קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו הינו אדון עולם בכל נוצר יורה גדולתו ומלכותו שפע נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו לא קם בישראל כמשה עוד, נביא ומביט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמו, אל על יד נביאו, נאמן ביתו, לא יכלה יפעל ולא ימיר דתו, לעולמים לזולתו, צופה ויודע, סתרנו מבית לסוף דבר, בקדמתו, גומל איש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לרשע כרשעתו, ישלח חפץ ימין משיתנו, לפדות מחקקס ישועתו, מבית יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו, לשנה טובה תכתבו ותחתמו.
Shana Tova, everybody. I'll see you back in the courtyard at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Da 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 da